Contemporary World Civilization. Chapter 3. Hindu and Buddhist Civilizations. In this first chapter, chapter 3, we will focus on both Hindu and Buddhist civilizations. But first of all, let us see our learning outcomes. What do we want to achieve at the end of this unit, this chapter? First of all, after completing this chapter, you will be able to summarize the effect of Hinduism on the social and economic structure of Indian society, analyze the role of Hinduism in Indian culture, demonstrate the heritage as well as the future of Hinduism, discuss the influence of Buddhist contributions to Southeast Asian and East Asian societies and cultures, as well as the world society and culture in general, and evaluate the role of Buddhism in regional and global civilization in the present and future. Before going through this video, I recommend you to work on the details in your course book, because you will find lots of interesting and detailed information about Hindu and Buddhist civilizations. So let us summarize this chapter together. First of all, we have to talk about the origin and geographical and historical background of Hinduism. Hinduism as a civilization was born before 1500 BCE, and the location was the Indus River Valley as its birthplace. The difference of Hinduism from the other main religions is that there is no prophet or a single text in Hinduism, but there are many texts actually. The personal gods represent parts of nature such as the sun, the moon, water, or trees, or knowledge and wealth in Hinduism. And there is the three-caste system, and then we can also add some sub-caste to this main three-caste structure. In the first layer of the Brahman, the caste structure, there are the Brahmins. They are called as the head of a bodiless. Let's think in this way, in this analogy. Brahmins are the priests and the scholars. They are at the top of the caste system. In the second layer of the caste system is the Kshatriya. You can consider it as the heart of a body. Brahmins were the head, and the Kshatriya is the heart. They are the politicians, soldiers, or administrators in the society. They also have good status in the society. And in the third layer is called the Vaishya. They are the merchants or the craftsmen generally, who are occupied with worldly matters in general. And in the lower parts of the caste structure, there are the Sudras and the common people, let's say. Sudras are the peasants, whereas the caste called as people were the ones excluded from the system. They are called the untouchables. They are generally dealing with dirty jobs such as being a butcher. So we have to think Hinduism within this caste system, because it is very important for the roles of the people in society. When we say Hinduism, we also have to think about its culture. The first cultural element will be the food. Food varies according to the hierarchy related to caste and class. Caste system is in the heart of everything in Hinduism, including the food. For instance, the food called sattvic or ascending meals are generally for higher castes. This type of food includes fruits, vegetables, and grains. As you see, there is no meat here, because it symbolizes a kind of transcendence. And in the middle castes, the food here include onions, garlic, mushroom, fish, and eggs. This kind of food is considered as less spiritual when we compare it to the sattvic type of food. And in the third layer, we have the tamasic food, which is for the lower classes. This time it includes meat and fermented alcohol. And this type of food are generally associated with dullness and inertia. So as you see, the higher castes include kind of vegetarian type of food, because vegetarianism is highly valued in Hinduism, in Hindu culture. The second cultural element will be the clothing here. There are different types of clothes for men and women. let's talk about some of the main ones. Dhofi kurta is an outfit that is often worn by married Hindu men. Being married or unmarried is an important factor in clothing in Hindu culture. Sari is worn by women, whereas salwar kameez is a pair of loose-fitting trousers and a long tunic, as you can see in our visual. Women who cover their heads might wear a shuni or kind of shawl. And bindi dot, which is located here, is usually red, placed in the middle of the forehead or between the eyes, and it symbolizes the world beyond the physical. The world beyond the physical is a very important thing in Hindu culture. And from a cultural perspective, square and rectangular shapes are highly valued and emphasized. And within those shapes, for instance, the northeast part is considered as closest part to spirituality. And because of this, within those square and rectangular shapes, the northeast part is always valued more than the other parts. Let's talk about music and art of this culture. Music is a very important element in Hindu culture because it is central to worshipping different kinds of gods. And chanting with Om, meaning I am, is an important central figure in this worshipping rituals. Sitar is a kind of stringed instrument used in religious rituals or for worshipping rituals. And vegetarianism, as I have talked about it beforehand, is an indispensable part of Hinduist culture. Maybe you have heard about Bollywood characters, Bollywood movies full of music. It's a very important, again, element of Hindu culture. It generally includes Hindu themes and Krishna as a central character. Krishna is one of the Hindu gods. And Hindu civilization is actually oriented to the deeds of the gods, and those deeds are reflected in music, arts, and movies as well. As for the language, Sanskrit is a language of literary, religious, and philosophical texts, and Brahmins actually need to know this language in order to be able to read those kind of texts. We can talk about two main texts about Hinduism. They are very central to both religion, both literary and philosophical acts. The first one is called Mahabharata. Mahabharata is actually based on karma. Karma means past deeds can determine future destiny. And moksha, release from cycle of existence, and samsara, the cycle of existence. So those three layers, let's say, of existence are important to understand this important text of Mahabharata. And its main theme is dharma, duty. The second text, which also includes different cultures in Southeast Asia, is called Ramayana. Ramayana is based on the life of Rama, who is a legendary prince set out to rescue his wife Sita from a demon king. And it also includes everyday sayings in sutras and puranas. And those sutras and puranas, everyday sayings, religious sayings, are also important to understand Hindu culture. When we come to the heritage, infrastructure, and timeline and future of Hinduism, Hindu culture contributed much to mathematical sciences. They invented the concept of zero and the decimal system, and they created the original version of the ordinal numbers from 1 to 9, which were then transferred to Arabic numbers. And Hindu temple is an important figure in Hindu culture because it was also a kind of center for public business and arts. People are gathering in those kind of temples. And urban planning is an important factor to understand the infrastructure of the Hindu culture. And when we talk about a Hindu philosophy, there is always a move from microcosm to macrocosm, which is called from Atman to Brahman. You can see the reflection of this philosophy in urban planning, and in the temple structures, and in general daily life as well. You can find the details of timeline and main events of Hindu civilization in your course book, because Hindu civilization has a very long history. It includes original religious texts called as Vedas, and the age of protest, Buddhism then comes forward. And then in the recent times, we have the Mahatma Gandhi, who has a profound influence on Hinduism in India. And when we come to the present, our present day, we see that there is now the dominance of Hindu nationalist party, which has a rising power at the national level since 2014. Our second civilization in this chapter is Buddhism. Buddhism is a kind of religion named after one person who is called Siddhartha Gautama. He was actually born into a princely family, but then later in his life he moved into poverty. He experienced poverty and suffering. Then he came to a kind of general understanding of human suffering, and then formed the religion of Buddhism. When we see the brief timeline of events in Buddhism, as you can see, it started with the birth of lifetime of, let's say, Siddhartha Gautama, who then became Buddha, and then Buddhism spread through Eastern and Northeastern Asia. It has also different branches. In India, Hinduism is incorporated in a way with Buddhism, but which gradually died out in its original home. According to Buddhism, according to Buddha, life on earth is a kind of illusion, and we need to escape from this illusion. But how? In order to escape from this illusion, we need to seek nirvana, which is a kind of nothingness state, let's say. And to achieve this nirvana, an individual must follow an eightfold path. It's not easy to achieve nirvana. What are those eightfold included? You need to be involved in right activities, right concentration. You need to have right intentions, right speech, and right mindfulness, right views, right livelihood, and right effort. So by following those paths, then you can achieve nirvana. So as a result, you can escape from the illusion that life here on earth is created through. Buddhism actually had influence on global scales through its culture and infrastructure. Especially Buddhism had a great influence on Southeast and East Asia and those parts of the world. And its main spread was through its messengers, not through a single prophet or a book, but through its messengers and the message that these missionaries spread. It has amalgamated with local customs in a highly successful manner, and you can see the effects of Buddhism even on the Western culture in different parts of the world. And it has influences on the creation of Shintoism, Confucianism, and Taoism in China and Japan. It actually had great influences on China and Japan, on those kind of cultures. Buddhist temples and stupas are also built outside of India. What is a stupa? Stupas are made of brick or stone and are the shrines built around burial mounds. So this kind of an infrastructure had a great influence on the spread of Buddhism, let's say. There are different types of Buddhism. One of them is called the Zen Buddhism. It's based on meditation, meditative activities. And the survival of Buddhism rests on two things, actually. First of all, its ability to incorporate local belief systems. That's why it had a huge influence on different parts of the world. And its division into three, so as to constitute almost three separate religions. One of them is the Theravada Buddhism. Another one is Mahayana or Great Radical Buddhism. And you can see this syncretic branch of Mahayana Buddhism in China, Korea, and Japan. As you can see from this overall picture, Buddhism had different branches. That's why it survived in different areas, and it had a big influence on people all around the world. So, when we are concluding this chapter on Hindu and Buddhist civilizations, we have investigated the effect of Hinduism on the social and economic structure of the Indian society, and role of Hinduism in Indian culture. As you can see, it has a great role, big role on the development of Indian culture due to its actually the caste system. We also talked about the heritage and future of Hinduism and influence of Buddhist contributions to Southeast Asian and Asian societies and cultures, as well as the world society and culture, and the role of Buddhism in regional and global civilization in the present and future. Please look at all the details in your course book, because those civilizations are very rich in terms of food, in terms of music, arts, and infrastructure. And in order to be able to understand those civilizations in a broader perspective, you have to go through the details as well.